Hey guys, good morning. We're in the book of Philippians and we're still in chapter 1 and we're learning some good practical lessons about the Christian experience. One of the lessons that we learned from somebody who's able to look at life in retrospect is the issue of learning to pick our fights. We waste a lot of time, I think, fighting over things that don't really mean very much and at the end of the day exhaust us, break relationships and are toxic to the church. I guess it's kind of like the preference and the principle rule. You know, if we've got a principle that's worth discussing and fighting over and discussing, then let's do that. But unfortunately, most of the things we talk about are not issues of principle. They're issues of personal preference. I got my idea, you got your idea, and we're going to debate about who's got the right idea. You're probably both right, you're probably both wrong. But here's a word of encouragement or instruction for us today. Paul is talking about in Philippians, he's talking about other people who preach the gospel at his time. And he's making this observation. And remember, he's sitting in a prison looking back over his past experience. And he says this, verse 15 of chapter 1. It is true that some preach Christ out of envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do so in love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. The former preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, supposing they can stir up trouble for me while I'm in chains. There's always people wanting to stir up trouble over silly things. And then he says this, our key verse line, but what does it matter? The important thing is that in every way, whether from false motives or true, Christ is preached. And because of this, I rejoice. I think if we were to put this colloquially, people, Paul would be telling us, hey guys, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. Sometimes we make these little issues big issues. We make them far more critical than they actually are. And I have to tell you, as I look back over my time in the ministry and whenever, there are some fights I wish I hadn't fought. There's some fights that were just ego-driven. There were some fights that were just preference-driven. And man, I wish I'd thought more cleverly about the things. If I was going to fight, let's have a good fight, but let's fight over the right stuff. You know, at the end of Paul's life, he talks about having fought the good fight. He doesn't say, hey, I fought a good fight, which would mean that he's really been courageous and he's hung in there and he's done everything. But he says, I fight the good fight. I have fought the good fight. And that implies that there's a bad fight out there. And there are plenty of those. And churches around the world are being split over people fighting the bad fight. We have to ask God what the good fight looks like. And it's not difficult to find out what it does. And when we look at some of the things that have split churches, some of them have created denominations, things that have polarized people, things that have alienated people. But I've got to tell you, as Jesus looks at his church and he sees us doing this, I wonder if his heart doesn't break. I wonder if his heart doesn't break as we polarize ourselves over different aspects of what, you know, our experience is all about. So let's look into our own lives today, people. Let's make sure that if we're going to fight, let's fight the good fight, and let's not sweat the small stuff. While I think about it, isn't that what ended up with the Pharisees getting into such trouble? God gave them the beauty of the 10 commandments and they turned it into 600 and something other suggestions, and they fought over them. That's miserable. We don't want to do that, do we? You're going to have a good day. Bye.